75th Primetime Emmy Awards were originally slated to air tonight on Fox, but thanks to the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA strikes, the annual ceremony has been pushed all the way back to Monday, January 15th, 2024. But that doesn't mean that Maddie, Sammy, and I can't celebrate our favorite TV shows and stars, so we combed through this year's nominees and each picked a winner in 3 top categories: Outstanding Comedy, Drama, and Limited Series. So I'm going to kick things off. This year's nominees in the Outstanding Comedy Series category are Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Jury Duty, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, Ted Lasso, and Wednesday. And my pick for this year's winner is the HBO and Max series Barry, which has been nominated for this award 3 previous times, but never won. And honestly, I think it's time to give this show its flowers. And although I think it's a stretch to call seasons 2 or 3 of Barry a comedy, the show did get back to being funnier in the recent 4th and final season. Both Bill Hader and the incredible Henry Winkler have won Emmys for their performances in the show. And while I love so many of the shows in this category, and it was honestly hard to pick, I do feel like this award would be a fitting send-off for the world's greatest hitman/actor. So, do either of you watch Barry?
No. I don't. I know. I feel ashamed to say that. I do not.
That's okay. I think I almost feel like it's an acquired taste because it really does toe that line between comedy and drama, and it's one that's hard to keep up with because if you fall in love with it for its comedic elements in the first season, because it is very funny, it becomes really dark in 2 or 3, and I know a lot of people dropped off. But
I think I would like it. I think it's kind of like a show that I would thoroughly enjoy. I just never got around to it. So, but now that it's over, I feel like I can binge it, and
it's a good binge.
Yeah,
it's half-hour episodes, so it's a pretty quick watch.
Ooh, easy.
Yeah. In the Outstanding Drama Series category, the nominees are Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, Succession, The White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets. This was also a tough call because I enjoy a few of this year's nominees, but at the end of the day, there was no denying the popularity and power of the HBO and Max series, The Last of Us. Honestly, I'm not sure there was a single show I enjoyed more this year, and it's hard to believe that Joel and Ellie began their post-apocalyptic adventure all the way back on January 15th. It was so long ago.
Oh.
I found it interesting that The Last of Us only earned 5 total Emmy nominations compared to Succession and The White Lotus, which received 14 and 12 nominations respectively. But if you include Creative Arts Emmys, The Last of Us has the second most nominations of the year with 24 total. Succession is still the leader with 27 total, but that's a pretty big boost in the Creative Emmys department. I'm absolutely rooting for stars Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey to win awards for Outstanding Lead Actor and Actress in a Drama, and also rooting for director Peter Hoare, who is nominated for directing the absolutely incredible Bill and Frank episode entitled Long, Long Time. So if only he could get it, it would suck, but like that's an incredible episode. So give it to him. That's The Last of Us.
No qualms there. It's a great pick.
And we will move on finally to the Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series category, which includes Beef, Dahmer, Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, the most unnecessarily long title in television, Daisy Jones and the Six, Fleischman is in Trouble, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And my pick is the Netflix series Beef, starring Steven Yeun and Ali Wong. I'll keep this pretty simple. Beef is among the biggest sleeper hits of the year on TV. It features a predominantly Asian cast and boasts an incredible 98% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And while I really loved this show and its surprisingly compelling premise of a road rage incident that turns into an ongoing feud, I also just wasn't crazy about any of the other shows in this category. Honestly, I think it was a pretty weak year for limited series overall, considering that the last couple of years gave us shows like The Queen's Gambit, Mayor of Easttown, The White Lotus, The Dropout, Inventing Anna. Like it was like a who's who of the best shows of the entire year. But either way, Beef is absolutely one of the best shows of the year as well. And both Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong are nominated for their performances, and it should be on your watch list if you haven't checked it out already.
Another A24 produced.
I'm waiting for my box of swag. A24. This last couple episodes really. Anyway, hey Maddie, let's hear your picks for these 3 categories.
Sure. Let me just say it's like a mini dream come true because, well, we all do. We have so many strong opinions and feelings about television, and I always just have to bother my friends and you two in the office. But now I get to talk about it here as well. So my Emmy for Best Comedy, this is probably the one I'm going to drone on about the longest, is going to go to Jury Duty. Hear me out. I have so much love for some of the nominees in this category, like The Bear, which if it was in any other category, I'd probably pick it as my winner. Abbott Elementary 2. But Jury Duty was a complete shot in the dark that worked out masterfully. If you haven't seen it, the briefest description I could give is that it follows the workings of an American jury trial through the eyes of a man who we all love, named Ronald, a juror who is unaware that the case is completely fake. Here is why I legitimately think it should win the Emmy in a landslide. When you think of all the components that goes into a show's creation, it wasn't just crucial, it was paramount that all of those elements be perfectly done, or else the show completely fails. It doesn't happen. It never airs. Writing, they had to write like dozens of different scripts and scenarios based on the reaction of one man alone, most of the time as it was happening. Casting and acting, they had to pick unassuming looking people who were also talented enough actors that they could keep a straight face in some of the hilarious antics that ensued, or else they'd ruin the entire show. If Ronald sniffs out that this is fake, it's over. As far as like technical achievements, they probably had like 25 cameras rolling at all times, mics everywhere, and it all had to be completely hidden as to not tip off Ronald. So the stakes were so high at all times. There was no like reshoots or take twos. I don't think there were cuts at the end of the day either. It was just a miracle that this show was made, and an even bigger miracle that it was so successful, wildly enjoyable. I laughed, I cried at the end. Truly one of a kind, and I don't think it can be replicated anytime soon because a lot of the world watched this because it was on Freevee. It was available for free. So I really think it was just kind of like a trailblazing comedy this year. And I really believe it should be awarded the Emmy for Best Comedy Series. I don't know if you feel the same, but that's the one I feel the most passionate about this year, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But the only one you missed, unassuming actors, with the exception of James Marsden, who plays himself so wonderfully. He plays himself, but also not himself. I think he kind of puts on an act. But, oh my gosh, he's also nominated individually as an actor, right. And I hope that he wins because he was really the gem of this whole show.
I would love to find out if any actor has ever won an Emmy for playing themselves in a scripted role.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I don't even know who we find that out from.
Yeah, I bet too. Like when they created the show, I don't think he knew he was giving potentially an Emmy-nominated performance. I think it was just the fact that everyone got behind it. Ronald was so lovable. The world fell in love with this show. So, and I loved it. So rooting for it. Moving on to more serious topics here. My Emmy for Best Drama is going to Succession. Won't be long here. I'm not going to drone on. To me, this is the greatest television show of the past decade, in my opinion. It's so good. It feels like it's the only show nominated year after year because it dominates in every category. And I would love to see the show take home every award it's nominated for because it's so well deserved. If you haven't watched it, simply like, what's going on? What are you doing with your life? Like, get into the cultural zeitgeist. I do want to shout out, though, The Last of Us, David, that you mentioned, The White Lotus, and House of the Dragon, all which I watched and loved this year. I really hope that they see success with their future seasons in the award categories, but not this year. Let's just give it up for Succession in its final season.
I want to mention one thing that I didn't mention when I talked about Best Drama. No show dropped off more from season 1 to 2 than Yellow Jackets, which is
completely
nominated.
agree.
And if you ask me, if Yellow Jackets was in this category last year, I say Yellow Jackets hands down best drama. I like devastated that it's on the bottom of my list in terms of all these nominees.
Couldn't agree more, and equally as devastated.
Yeah, I mean, well, clearly the Television Academy liked it because it got nominated, so good for them for getting the nomination, but I kind of agree with you there. Yeah. And then finally, my Emmy for Best Limited Series, which is actually my favorite format of television. And David, I agree with your sentiment. I think there was a little bit of a drop-off this year, but God, did I love Daisy Jones and the Six. I don't want to steal the thunder from anyone else who may have selected this show. Not going to say anything. So I'll just say that this is a wonderful miniseries adapted from a book of the same name about a fictional 70s rock band and the relationships that emerge and crumble during the band's run. My sticking point of this show is that the music is fire flames. The soundtrack goes so hard. I think truly Daisy Jones and the Six will finish in my top 5 artists in Spotify Rap this year. Not kidding at all. It's going to be like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, fictional band, Daisy Jones and the Six. So if you haven't watched the show, check it out. If you're into like 70s music, check it out just for the music component because it is that good. And the actors are fantastic musicians as well, which I wouldn't have known. So those are my picks. I wish I could call all the winners up on my virtual stage and give them the awards myself, but I'm happy with my selections.
You just want to meet Ronald.
I do want to meet Ronald. I love Ronald. He's just
he is
so lovely. Yeah.
He is. Sammy, bring us home with your picks in each of these 3 categories.
Alrighty. My pick for Best Comedy is none other than the Apple TV Plus series Ted Lasso, which I know has maybe some mixed reviews in this most recent season. It's kind of a hot topic. But I absolutely loved this most recent 3rd season. It felt so different than the first 2 in that it was really focused more so on the entire cast and a little bit less on Ted, who I know some people may not be the best character. But the cast just brings so much to this show, and Phil Dunster, who plays Jamie Tart, has just changed my life. I will be saying "poopy" for the rest of my life. It's just integrated into my vocabulary now. This season also was just significantly gayer than the first 2. There were multiple LGBTQ characters, each with their own unique storylines, which I just really appreciated. The cultural references are fantastic. The music is fantastic. I loved the 3rd season and kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger question mark. Not sure if we're getting a 4th season, but it really would just be like the perfect little cherry on top to the end of Ted Lasso. I don't know. You guys maybe not the biggest fans of Ted.
Not that I'm not a big fan. I think my loyalty to television shows has lacked a bit this past year because if I don't like the first couple episodes or if I'm not into it, I bail. So I can't fairly say that I didn't like the 3rd season because after 3 episodes, I got out of Dodge pretty fast. But again, maybe one that when there's a lull which there probably will be very soon due to the strike, there's a lull in new content. I'll go back and take your word for it and check out the 3rd season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch Ted Lasso as I've repeatedly had to reveal many times on What to Watch Live. I'm not the biggest Jason Sudeikis fan. Nothing against him as a person.
Really?
It's just a little like kind of the same in everything he does. And also like was never really the biggest soccer fan. So when this originally came out, I was like, Sudeikis in soccer, this is going to be a pass from me. Then everyone loved it, and I'm like, that's too late now. So that's what's going on.
Well, 3 seasons makes for an easy binge, and I do have to give a nod to The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which was also nominated in this category, and I loved deeply as well. And I think Tony Shalhoub deserved a nomination that he did not get. So this is me giving him that. My pick for Best Drama, a little bit of a repeat here, is also Succession on Max and HBO. It's just like, of course I picked Succession. It was really probably the best show of the year, as Maddie said, the best show of the last decade, maybe. just an absolute masterclass in acting and drama. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Succession sweep across all the major categories, including Best Actor, Best Actress. Sarah Snook probably gave one of her best performances ever in this season, especially towards the latter half, not to give away any spoilers. And I just didn't know where this season was going the whole time. It really had me on the edge of my seat. And for a drama about business, it can kind of sound a little boring at times, but I'm learning all about mergers and acquisitions and numbers and data. Like, I was not following, but I was right there with them. And this show is just incredible. I would rewatch it 10 more times, and probably will.
Yeah, it's a rare show that I think stuck the landing. I honestly don't know. Was it perfect? No, but like, I don't think it could have been perfect. And I think this was the best they could have done. I walked away being very happy to have gone on this journey and with the way it ended.
Yeah, the only thing that makes this interesting, because it's obviously so heavily nominated, is the cancel out effect, right? I'm always worried that they're going to split the votes and then some other show is going to come in. I mean, it would probably be a well-deserved award if like Pedro Pascal sneaks in for Best Actor, because everyone's canceling each other out between Roman and Kendall and Logan. So I'm always wondering how that's going to shake out year after year. It happened last year, in my opinion. Oh, who won Best Actor from Squid Game? Came in and I think took the Emmy for Best Actor, which was a complete surprise. So
yeah.
Hoping, no offense to everybody else, hoping that doesn't happen this year, because I agree with you, Sammy. I'd like to see our favorite business leaders finally get their Emmys.
Our TV SLT.
Our TV SLT. And then finally, for Best Limited Series, again, another repeat here, but Daisy Jones and the Six on Prime Video. I actually watched this one after hearing Maddie rave about it in the office.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
thanks,
it was
Sammy.
A true influencer moment. It was really not on my radar. I hadn't read the book, but hearing you talk about it, it just totally grabbed me. And by the third, fourth episode, I think I binged the rest of it in just one day. Like you mentioned, the music is so incredible. I think it will probably also be in my Spotify Wrapped this year. And yeah, my dad also just started watching this show. I didn't peg him as a Daisy Jones and Six fan, but he loved it, having grown up in that era, being a Fleetwood Mac fan, which I know there are some strong parallels between that story and this one. Stevie Nicks actually just came out and mentioned that she watched the show twice and loved the character of Daisy Jones and sees herself in that character. So if you're a fan of that sort of genre or era of history, couldn't recommend this show more. I don't know if all the acting performances were maybe the best, but the music was, like I mentioned, incredible. I've listened to this album on repeat. And I just think it's really awesome, all the work that went into this production, how all of the actors learned instruments for this show, played all their own music, and performed live for every performance in the show. I just think it's incredible from a production standpoint. So big rooting for Daisy Jones.
Excellent. I have not watched it, but maybe
you
I will.
should, David. I feel like, seriously, you should check this one out. I think you would like it, and you'd appreciate the music.
I do love a musical series, so I mean, no, it's not a musical, but I think I would enjoy it.
An easy binge.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for your picks and weighing in on this. It has got me thinking a lot before we move on about our best of the year. As some of you out there might know, we do a large collection at the end of the year that is the best of everything from TV, movies, music, etc. And all of the Xfinity editors get together and pick the 100 best of everything across the entire year. And I think this is, I'm going to make a early prediction for a top 5.
You're doing it now live?
I'm just going to do it now live. This is just
okay. Do it live.
I think I'm going to do it live. I've been thinking about it. I really don't think it's going to be hard to dispute this. Succession, Barbie, Oppenheimer, The Last of Us, and I think Jury Duty.
Wow. Yeah, all right. I think I love The Last of Us. I don't know if it's a top fiver for me. And I also love Jury Duty, but there's probably a couple movies that I would put over it. But I think your top three is locked in for sure.
Yeah. What other movie would you put in? I think Jury Duty was, for all the reasons we said, was such an amazing surprise that it was one of those like little cultural moments, along with The Last of Us.
You know what? You're probably right, because I'm thinking more about like my personal taste and not about all of the others combined. Because I was going to say I loved Past Lives. Sammy, I know, loved it too. That would be in my personal top five. And I assume will be nominated for Best Picture. But you're right. I think Jury Duty would sneak into my top five. You've convinced me that quickly, David.
Okay.
Well, that made a really strong case.
That bodes well for our big meeting where we all actually pick the top 100.